Hello. One of the most common questions I get from really good candidates is about structure and form and trying to work out the difference between the two. So thank you very much for Try Hard. Nice name, by the way. That's excellent name for a student, if ever I saw one. So yeah, I'm going to deal with this using poetry, but I'll try and also make it relevant to novels and other texts for you. Well, one of the best analogies was given to me by a head of English at my school, and she teaches her students this, and I've stolen it as an idea. So, if you imagine a house, the um, the structure of the house are all the different bits that keep it all together. So, hopefully, you can see in this diagram that there are many different components that will hold the house together. And the overall shape of the house will be the form, and the bits that hold it all together, they're the structure. And just as there are many different types of houses, so there are many different types of form of poetry or text. So now let's look at that with poetry. If we leap into Wikipedia, we'll see how that might work. So if I come down here to the contents table, the elements are the structure of the poem. So you can construct your poem through rhythm, through meter, through having patterns of meter. Then there are all these literary devices, rhyme, alliteration, assonance, rhyming schemes of different sorts, the number of lines in the stanza, and obviously the visual presentation of the poem. So those are all things that make up the structure. Now the form of the poem, just like the house, is the overall shape. And so here we just have a few examples of form and what they call genres here in our studies we would also call the form of the poem because that will be the overall shape of it. So the genre shapes the poem and how it looks. How do form and structure link together? How would you want to write about them? Well, I've just Googled ballad poems. And if we come down, we'll find out what a ballad is. So here it is. It's a form of verse, often a narrative, which means it tells a story, and it's often set to music. And therefore, you would want to discuss why this story is being told. The fact that it's in verse will make it more memorable. So why is it important that that story is handed down through the generations, perhaps? Why is it important for people to remember this particular story? Maybe it's about a hero, or maybe it's got a moral in it. And that's how I would talk about the form. Now, the structure of the ballad is set down. So it usually consists of 4 lines and it has a particular rhyming scheme. Well, how would I write about that? Well, I'd talk about how that structure was to make particular parts of the ballad in question memorable. And so we'd look at the ideas perhaps on the final line. That final line is going to be most memorable because it rhymes with the second line. So what's going on in that final line that carries the poet's ideas? And that's how I'd write about the structure of it. With any poem, you'd talk about the gap between one stanza and the next. What does that gap make us think about? Often you get one idea for your 4 lines and you're expecting something else to follow, and then the poet surprises you with something completely different in the next line. And that again is how you would talk about the structure. Similarly, they might not fully rhyme with the second and fourth rhymes. There might be a surprise word that nevertheless upsets us because we're expecting rhyme. And when it's not there, it disturbs us. And often the poet will link that to a disturbing idea. So hopefully you can see how the structure of a poem relates to the form. And to discuss them, you have to talk about the poet's purpose. What is the poet trying to achieve? And finally, with a novel, exactly the same thing will happen. So here I've just put in types of novel: mysteries, romance, thrillers. Well, what would be a structural feature of a thriller? Well, possibly there'll be a key event that we'll find out about, but we don't find out about the cause until later. So the structure will be to put that cause later in the novel. In a romance, we'll obviously have to have an early encounter with the romantic lead, the person who is going to turn out to be the future partner in the novel, and that must come early. Then there'll have to be some obstacles. That's the necessary structure of a romance. So hopefully you'll be able to see quite easily what structure means for the genre of writing that you're studying. I hope that was helpful. If you'd like any more videos, don't forget to subscribe.